Hi guys, welcome to the next video. Today we're going to continue with some blocking, general blocking, and I'm super happy because once we finish this blocking, we're going to start going into the fun stuff, which is the polish, the details, all of the props. It's going to be really, really cool. I know it might seem like a little bit tedious to go through all of these things that we just did, but believe me, my friends, it's very, very important to do this because if we have these foundations right, then everything else that we do is just going to flow very, very nicely. So I'm going to grab the character right here, grab the color, go to the body, and I'm going to say RGB, color, and then let's move this fill object. There we go. So that we have the proper color everywhere. And of course the feet, we're going to have to do the same. So color, fill object. This is it's just going to help us get a better idea of how the whole character is looking. So I'm going to show you the first way in which we can do a blocking, and we're going to do that for the pants. I'm going to go to the body and I'm going to go to masking. And here in mask pen, I'm going to change this to mask lasso actually. And I'm going to mask out where I see this whole pants like being, which is all of this part right here. All of this right here. So all of this section is where we're going to have the pants, right? Now you can see a little bit of the torso and of the oblique, so I'm going to remove that element right there. I'm going to have like a very, very like tight pant right there. Careful not to select hands or anything else. We just want like the back part here. And again, this is not going to be like the final mesh. We're going to be polishing it. It's going to be a start, just a reference for us. Over here on the subtools palette, we have an option called extract right here. And we can use this extract option, as the name implies, to extract a piece of the geometry. Now, I particularly don't love the extract by default because it inflates things quite a bit. So I like to change the thickness back to 0. And if I hit extract now and hit accept, I'm going to get this mesh right here. I'm going to isolate it real quick. There we go. And as you can see, we get this very, very thin mesh. So this is the mesh that we're going to be using. I'm going to give it a black color. So let's go to like a dark color. Probably like kind of want to go into like the blues so that we get a slightly different contrast. There we go. And just color, fill object. And now that we have this, I am going to start like tweaking it. I'm going to start like modifying it. I'm actually going to remove the color for now. Let's go back to like a normal gray color. There we go. And let's bring our body back. And what we're going to do is literally with the move brush, I'm just going to start like pushing and pulling this out so we can start creating the general shape of this sort of like inflated pants that we have. Now, again, I don't need to be perfect. Like, I don't need this pants to be like super, super like precise to what we have, but we do want to get closer to get an idea of how this character is looking. So you can see these are super, super, super fluffy pants. So they are like really, really interesting. And the reason why we need to do this as a separate piece from the legs is because we still want to see the legs inside. So if this was something that we're going to do like cloth simulation or cloth deformation in animation, we do need to have the base mesh underneath it. So that means the legs, so that we can get a proper deformation. I'm going to smooth this thing right here. I'm going to use clay buildup and I'm going to fill in this gap because I know that these pants usually don't have like the crotch like looking like that. So we're going to do this. And let's just do a very basic sculpt right here. Again, the main point of this like a blocking pass is to get a general idea of how the character is looking and make sure that we're getting close to the essence of what we have on the concept. I'm going to use String Dynamic here. And then we clay build very, very softly. I'm just going to go on top here because I do want the muscles to be really close to the surface of the pants on that particular area. And that's why it's very important to have the anatomy underneath, because the anatomy is going to be a guide so that we know whether or not we're like getting close to the surface of the character. On the back side here, silhouette is king, always, always, always. So I want to make sure that we have a really nice, clean silhouette going everywhere. So all the way around, for instance, that area right there looks very empty. So I'm going to start like modifying that. We're going to have the wrinkles and everything later on. But right now, I just want to get like a nice clean silhouette. Again, to make sure that we're like getting close to what we see there on the effect. We also have some references here. I believe I added some where? Like right here, there's ones. So this is like the traditional or something closer to the traditional effect, which is not bad. But as you can see, it's not exactly what we have. On ours, we also have like a lot of like bandages here on the bottom part. So I'm gonna go clay buildup, and I'm just gonna start adding some sketches to indicate this sort of like bandage effect that we would expect on the ankle of the character. Now take a look at the distance, right? Like one of the things that they can see is that this part right here, they're falling on top of these bandages. So I'm gonna mask them out, and very carefully, I'm gonna start like layering this, so they feel like they're actually going around the whole thing. I feel like they're a little bit high, so let's push them up. There we go. Proportions and silhouette. That's what we're going for. I can definitely see that on the center line, they're pretty much going to be like almost together. It's very difficult to work inside of ZBrush and pretty much every software when things are really close together. So we got to be careful there. And here, I just want to make sure that, again, we get like the general silhouette and effect that we're capturing there. There we go. Let's use Trim Dynamic to create some like sharp lines. We're gonna do like more cloth sculpting later on. This should give us again a general idea of how we expect this character to be wearing this pants. And one of the things that's going to be very important is like the thickness that we see right here, right? Because we're still missing a lot of props like the belts and things like that. So I don't want to add too much volume on the center like part of the character because that's going to like mess everything up. Later on, if I see that we start getting a little bit like fat on the waist, I'm going to show you a technique that we can use to modify every single tool at the same time. But in this case, I'm just going to try to be as clean as possible. You can see that line right there. Now, let's add a very quick belt. Again, just to get an idea, I'm going to append a ring here. I'm going to bring the ring right there. And I'm going to make it smaller. Or actually, not smaller, just like thinner. There we go. And you can see this ring. I'm going to go Move Brush. And I'm going to push it. Symmetry turn on. I'm going to push it so that it follows the shape of the character. Belts are like oval shapes. I know we tend to think of them like toruses, but they're actually like quite oval, and they like really like push in, right? So I would expect to see, for instance, a little bit of the pants going in on that direction right there. I'm gonna keep it really straight. You can see on the concept it's really straight, and then I'm gonna duplicate it 1, 2, 3 times like that, and that's gonna give me a good mesh right there again, just to get an idea of how things are looking. Now I can go back to the pants and push the pants in a little bit there. To give the impression again that these things are like this belts are actually like creating some pressure, right? And the cloth is getting some like tension lines right there. So that will be the belt. And again, if I see, because I'm already seeing like this thing is going a little bit too far out, and the silhouette is not exactly like what we have in the concept. So that means that we're gonna have to fix a couple of things. For instance, here I might need to go on the body and just push the body just a tad bit. Just like exaggerate the waistline a little bit more so that when we go to the pants, we can push the pants a little bit closer. And that way we can also push these things a little bit closer, right? Because again, we're still, like there's still a lot of stuff that we're going to have to add. I still feel like we went a little bit too far out, so let's adjust that accordingly. And it's a lot of that, like this, as you guys have seen so far, doing a character, especially a character for production, is one of those things that you definitely need to understand that it's not a pretty image. It's not just a pretty image that we want to get at the end. It's an object or a character that's actually going to be usable inside of a game or inside of a movie or any type of production. Even for 3D printing, we still want things to be as nice as possible. So yeah, that's a nice belt right there. Again, I feel we're gonna have to do some comparisons because I feel like I'm missing something and I'm not sure what. I'm gonna go to the feet and I kind of want to rotate them a little bit out just to give myself a little bit more range there as well. And yeah, I mean, it's getting there. I feel like the pants are a little bit low. I think that's it. So I'm gonna bring the belt a little bit further up, and I'm gonna bring the pants up as well. There we go. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. He was looking a little bit more like here in Mexico we call them cholos, which are, you know, people that like to wear these very baggy cloths and their pants are almost falling out. So he was looking a little bit like that. Let's clean them a little bit, like the pants here. And yeah, so this gives me a really good idea, again, proportion-wise, how close or how far we are. And I think we're in a good position. As we start like polishing and moving things, again, adding more props and things like that, I'm sure that this is going to look way, way better. Now, I'm going to do something similar as the extract, but in this case, I'm going to keep the other extraction. You can see that for the arms right here, we got the armors, and they kind of go all the way to like the middle of the hand. So right around there, we got armor and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. So I'm just going to select this ones right here. Make sure to mask like this little section. So we have like a glove on this area. I think that's going to be a good compromise right there. And once we're happy there, I can go again to the project option and say project. But in this case, I do want, sorry, not project, extract. I do want a little bit of thickness. Very little. Don't go too high. So 0.02 maybe should be more than enough. There we go. And just hit accept. So that's the silhouette that we're going to have for the armor. Eventually, when we do the armor is going to be occupying this volume roughly. Some parts might be a little bit less. So for instance, here on the hand, I would expect there to be a little bit less thickness. And we can start removing some of that stuff, like flattening this out. There we go. And some other parts like here in this area, of course, we're going to have the armor. Here's another thing we can do. We could just grab like the shape where I would expect the armor to be, which is in this area right here. I wouldn't expect the armor to, let's zoom in. Yeah, you can see the armor is divided into 2 pieces. So this first armor right here is right where the wrist ends. And then there's a second armor right here. And that's important because otherwise we wouldn't be able to bend the wrist. So I'm just going to mask this out. And I'm just going to extrude this out and scale this a little bit. Again, that's going to give me a very quick like blocking of how I would expect the armor to roughly look. It's not going to be the exact same armor, right? But it's a good way to give ourselves or yeah, just like see a quick sketch of how things are looking. So very similar to what we did on the body in the first couple of chapters. This is going to allow us to understand how things are going to be like appearing here on the character. It's a very complex shape. We're going to be breaking it down and doing it very, very cleanly from the start. But again, it's important that we have this right here. If you want to add more details, more elements, such as all of this hanging bits and pieces, that's fine. I don't think it's really necessary right now. Again, this should be a good compromise of how much we're pushing the character. But yeah. If you want to do it, feel free to do it so that you can get a even better picture. So that's it for this one, my friends. In the next chapter, we're going to start with the polish of the body. So chapter 5 is going to be the polishing of the body, face, pectoral, like everything. We're going to leave the body perfectly ready now that we've done the whole blocking before we do the main elements, such as all of these armor pieces. So yeah, that's pretty much it, my friends. Hang on tight, and I'll see you back on the next video and chapter.